Hey guys, this is Hyde here, and we're on the Fortitudo server, and this is the iron farm we got set up here. We're going to be doing a bit of a tutorial today. It's not a tutorial for the iron farm, that was something we got set up along with it here, and that is this water obstacle course I've got set up here. We've got two of them, one's partially still in construction, so you get to see how it looks halfway through. And you can either call it a water maze or a water domino set if you're a bit more pessimistic about it. But we'll head down there to get a closer look at things. What it uses is basically just ice blocks that once melted, as you can see it's half and half down here. Once you melt these ice blocks, they'll turn into these floating water blocks here, and they will stay floating in the air until you update them. So that's why it can be called a domino set, because if you update these blocks, everything gets messed up. So we're going to be doing a bit of a tutorial today, and that's probably one of the most difficult things you can build in survival, just because of how fragile it is and how dangerous it is to build. You can actually get yourself killed if it's high enough as well. Yeah, so we'll get into the creative world to show you guys the tutorial, and this is what you're going to want to be aiming for in the future. So we'll head over into the world there and get things set up. Okay guys, so we're in the creative world now, and we're just going to break down the basic components of the water maze, and to show you guys how you can build it and the different combinations of blocks that you can use to challenge players to move around. So the first, most basic setup you have here is the two water blocks on top of each other, just for moving the players upwards first of all. And that just allows them to swim up, and you can have these as high as you want just to get them into different areas of the map, so you can have these in between to give the player a bit of a break, just in between the different challenges that they'll have along the way. Next, for moving them horizontally, we've got two options. The first here is to have the blocks one block apart, have the water blocks one block apart, so the player has to jump over in between these to get to travel further sideways. And a much more easier version of this is to have them diagonally, because if you're traveling across a gap, they can fall through the middle. It can be quite difficult to navigate, especially over long distance ones as well. But for these, they can just walk through the corners here, and there's no real risk of falling off unless you're really messing around on the sides of them here. So it's pretty easy just to glide your way across these ones here. If you want a bit more easier area to navigate, you can use this type, or if you're wanting a bit more of a challenge, you can use these gaps in between and they can jump across. The reason why these gaps are a bit more of a challenge is if you have a ton of them lined up like this, the player can think they're just going to jump across each one. They can just hold forward and up and keep swimming across, but as you can see, you get lower and lower until you actually fall down and hit the ground. So that's what happens. So if you keep moving forward, what they have to do is take breaks in between, get themselves up in the highest points, then jump across, and even then you can still mess it up, so you have to get the highest point and jump up again. Otherwise, if you just hold down, eventually you just get lower and lower and then you fall off. So that's the basic horizontal and vertical here, and then we've got the angle options as well. The water blocks, even though they aren't touching each other, they're just at these corners here, they're still able to flow into each other. So this is the first most basic combination of the water flowing. This block here doesn't push me at all, but when I go up to the higher block here, it constantly pushes me and flows into this block here. So that can create a bit of a challenge as well, just with trying to move upwards, and get the players a bit of a challenge to try and jump across from this block, for example, as well. We can show that further on, the challenges with that. But that's how the water flows as well. Even though they're not touching each other, it still flows downwards towards the block. And this is a more bigger application of it here. We can have it in a spiral, so the water will flow down from here down to this block here, and even further it will keep flowing down and pushing the player downwards. So this can be a good challenge because the player can try and look up and think, I'll just jump through these ones, go straight up, but when they try and do that, they'll kind of get pushed around a bit and they won't be able to stay on quickly because the water direction constantly changes as well. So they'll end up having to go the slow way and just go around like this each block up. So that's a nice little challenge there. An easier version of that is to have them at diagonals, because when they're diagonals like this and upwards, they don't flow into each other, so it's just pretty simple straight water blocks, and they can go up and down these with a lot of ease. So that's a simpler version of it to get them up diagonally as well. So an application of this to try and provide a bit of a challenge is we got this block here not doing anything, but this block here is flowing. So as you can see, when we try and jump up to this block here, it is practically impossible to try and get in here. It is possible, but you have to get exactly the right jump height and exactly the right timing with it. So 99 times out of 100 you're not going to make it. However, this block here, it is doable at this side, but the player has to constantly juggle their movement on the block because they can't stay still within it. You can still make it across pretty easily, but it just provides a little bit of an extra challenge to try and get on it as well. And even getting back into here, if that's flying off to the side with jumping into this, creates a bit of a challenge as well. And it can act like a bit of a one-way door, a one-way pathway with this as well, because this block here, I'll just jump into it. It's easier to get into this block and just move this way towards whatever direction you're heading in this way. So it's easy to get over here, but if they want to go backwards, can't get back that way. So that's another application of that there. When you kind of mix these combinations together, you can do a bit of a mesh setup here. And what it actually does is, because it's all symmetrical, so we got one diagonal here and another one matching up on the other side. When you get that set up, what it does is the blocks actually all push towards the center. So if you try and move outwards, it'll push you in. So just holding forward, just holding up, it'll push you all into the center. So that can create a nice challenge as well to try and get out of one of these. And it's good for just general water elevators as well if you want to use this in a survival world. So it'll always suck you towards the middle with this setup in the mesh here. So that's another combination of these types as well. Moving on to bigger challenges, we've got a bit of a drop setup here. So you can see this could be part of a maze here, can have another section just going further down or further up. So the player will jump in here and they'll think, oh, I need to get over here to get further up somewhere else. But no matter how much they jump and try, they're not going to be able to make it into this block here. So instead, they have to go up and above it. And then once they're above it, they can simply, oh, if you're careful, once they're above it, they can jump down and land into the block. So if I can make it here, we jump down like this and quickly grab yourself if you're quick enough. Try and show it properly here. If you jump down carefully enough, you can grab yourself in there, and then it can head off this way or this way in other directions, and continue on upwards or further out with the map. So that's another application of it there. You can even go a bit further and try ones that are a bit more hidden, because if you have blocks that are water everywhere around here, you can kind of hide these drops in places. So if we go up to the top here, we've got different combinations of it to start off with. First one, the one immediately in front of us, is just right on the next block. So it's pretty easy to just drop down and catch yourself with it if you're quick enough with holding space, and you can grab yourself in that pretty easily. Next one is just the same except to block off, so the player has to sort of make a bit of a leap of faith out to the side here and get themselves caught, and sometimes that can cause them to fall through as well. So they have to kind of manage how they're falling. Usually how it goes is if you're, oh, don't want to lag a bit too there, but if you're holding upwards and you're on the way up when you leave the block, it will kind of fall through because you get more momentum with your fall. Otherwise, if you kind of just let yourself fall out, you can sort of catch yourself a bit easier. Another slightly more challenging way is to have the blocks at the diagonal here, and the player has to catch themselves, I'll show you guys, right in this middle part here. And it needs to be a bit further up than these ones as well, because there's not as many blocks to catch them in. But with this setup here, the player has to get right in the middle here, because they fall through just this block, they'll fall straight through, and the same with this block here, so they have to catch themselves right in the middle with this kind of drop as well. And you can manage different distances as well. If you have further down blocks with further jumps, you kind of need about 3 of these instead to catch the player, because this is probably one of the largest drop distances you can have with just 2 catching blocks. But this setup here, player will just jump off and they have to line it up exactly to catch in to these 2 blocks, so it's quite difficult. So I won't keep trying it. You need quite a few tries to try and catch yourself in one of these jump areas, and the water flows down as well. So even if they catch themselves on it, they have to be very careful, because they can still flow off the block as well and mess themselves up. So when you mix all of these things together, this is sort of just a basic setup we've got here. You can get a nice maze going, and once you build these up, you can put in different layers, different tiers. You can build outwards any direction you like, and it provides a nice challenge for getting to the top area. You can put prizes at the top here, or whatever you want, or some other stages as well. And it's just a nice, this is the full combination of what you can do here. And you can do different designs with it as well. It can look quite pretty with the different symmetrical and random designs you can do as well. And just so you guys make sure you understand how fragile these are as well, it's always best to have, for example, half slabs around the sides here at the entrance when you're getting to the top layer, to the platform you want to get to. Because otherwise, if you've got, for example, a full block, or you break the block next to it, it will flow out. What I was trying to show there, this is what happens when you update the top block. It all flows down, it wrecks the entire maze, so this is not what you want to do. As you can see, it's all very fragile. What I was trying to demonstrate is if you have a block underneath here, for example, someone could place something on this block here and it would update, but with half slabs it won't update the block because it goes to the higher block instead when you place one. So that's what I was trying to show there, but I kind of messed it up. Otherwise, you can clearly see the maze gets entirely ruined if you break the top block. So the further higher up the person is, whoever messes it up for you, the more damage it will do, because it always just flows down and wrecks everything. So we'll go on to the second part of the tutorial here, which kind of shows how you can make these a bit more complicated, what you can mix in with the different map types. We've got Squid there as well. They're having a good time. So how you can mix these up and what different things you need to watch out for when making these. So first of all, things like paintings and item frames as well here, they won't update the blocks. You don't have to worry about if you're going to place those anywhere. They're not going to cause any updates or anything like that. And also, if you melt these blocks, they kind of stay on for a while as well. So that can look pretty cool with a water block with these paintings, because they take a while to update. But we'll have a look at that later once it melts. Signs as well. If you're going to use any signs anywhere, what it will happen is it will kind of mess up the ice block when you're melting it. Because when it melts, the sign will also break, and the sign will send an update to the water block when it melts. And the melting times are very random as well. It's not very good for tutorials, because it can take minutes for it to melt, or it can melt absolutely instantly as well when you're placing the glowstone or torch. So you have to be careful with that, so we keep watching these. Yep, as you can see, it's updated there. As soon as the sign breaks, it updates the water and ruins everything. You can see that there, and this isn't going to melt at all, I'm guessing. No. What we're going to test out as well is jukeboxes. Will they update the water? No, it will not. So that's fine. You can have jukeboxes up in there somewhere if you'd like. And wondering as well, I haven't tested this myself, so I'm quite curious, is whether or not the melted snow will update this. So we'll see if that comes back. We'll come back to it and see if this water starts flowing. And this still hasn't updated. Wow. Is this gonna melt? It's always bad for tutorials, guys, when you're trying to melt things. Just random paces at which things melt. I got something else over here as well. I showed it in a previous tutorial. I'll probably have it in the description, just with elevators and things. But with the water blocks, usually if you have two together, what will happen is it will update them, so it kind of messes things up, so you want to watch out for that. So don't put 2 and 2 next to each other, because the water will flow next to the other one and it'll update everything and just ruin whatever you got set up. So you always have to have at least one spacing in between, or have them at diagonals instead. Also with things that update it, we've got tripwire here, that will update the water. Redstone will update the water. Sleeping, just in time for that, will not update the water. Though if you do have one of these water blocks on top of your bed, you will drown. So watch out for that. Also, fire will update the water. What won't update the water, we'll see if we can get some here. Oh, I kind of need that bucket as well. Make sure we have that on the bar, just in case. What won't update the water is... I'll make sure I'm careful with this. Because if it lands on that block, it might update it still, so I'll put down track to make sure it breaks here. If you put sands and let it drop through a water block... Oh, that was a bit of lag there. If you let it drop through, it will not update the water. So that's quite an interesting feature of it there. You can drop as many sand blocks as you like through there, as long as you have something to catch it so it doesn't pile up. You can continuously drop sand through these and provide an extra challenge for the players. So you could have this as just a way up, and there'll be sand constantly dropping through and hitting them in the face or distracting them. And that provides an interesting challenge as well. What I want to test as well here is whether or not, because the sand ball hits on top of this block here, if it will cause an update or if it will just stay as an entity as it's falling. So we'll test that now if it does actually create a block for a split second right here. No, it doesn't. So you can even have it, even if the sand block is just occupying the space right here, it will, when it falls, it will still just stay as an entity the whole time, so it won't actually, for a remote second, create a block. It will just fall straight onto it. So that's good to know, and along with that, there's another type of item you can use as well that you can drop through it. You guys might have been thinking this as well. So with anvils, it's the same principle. Drop it and it falls straight through. And it, thank goodness, broke that track as well. Otherwise, you can't break the anvils when they fall like sand. It has to kind of have a lot of gaps in between so it doesn't fill up the spaces. Yeah, so you can drop these down through the mazes as well and do a lot of damage to players. Probably even find a high enough point and you can possibly kill them trying to get through. So maybe if you had your water maze set up at an iron farm or something like that, you know, a big iron farm, you can get tons of iron, and you got tons of anvils from that, you could set up a bit of a trap there. So that's an interesting idea. So we'll see how that works out in this Fortitudo server as well. One more thing that you can use in the mazes as well, is we'll go up here. It's quite a bit of a... I could have set up a redstone wire up here, but it would have been a bit complicated. So what we've got up here is a dispenser, and what it's going to shoot out is plenty of TNT for us. So if we drop down now, and we watch the TNT explode, it will not update any of the water. It can't destroy the water blocks, they have too high of a blast resistance, and there's no blocks next to it to explode and destroy and update the water. So you can drop TNT into these water mazes all day long and it will not update a thing. So that's another thing you have to consider as well with building the mazes. You can put a TNT dropper right in the middle of it or way up above, or probably way up above because you need that much distance just for them to explode. But you can put a good distance in between them and drop them onto the players, and that will provide an extra challenge as well for the maze. So that's the full tutorial for it there, guys. Got a lot of different combinations you can work on, and I might be doing some further details in the Fortitudo server as well. And I can come back to you guys with that in another tutorial, but this is just the basics with getting you guys set up and understanding the processes of it. So I hope you enjoyed that. I will head back to the server just to finish things up, and that will be it for the tutorial. So thank you for watching so far, guys. Oh, and yes, I forgot to mention the snow melting does update the water as well, so that's something else I've learned today. Okay guys, thank you very much for watching, back on the server here. So that's it for the basic tutorial. If you guys have any questions or comments or anything you want to let me know, I'll be able to answer and respond to you guys in the comment section for YouTube, or I might set up a Reddit post as well to get more simple, straightforward comments options as well. So just, yeah, thank you very much for watching, guys. If the video gets enough attention, I might put out a more detailed tutorial as well, and I might as well put in a tutorial on how to build these underwater fires as well, just because they follow the same concepts, which I've got set up along the area with the iron farm as well. So just, yeah, thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you again next time.